Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's January 31st, 2019. A lot of stuff to talk about today. The first of which is this. REX84, FEMA's blueprint for martial law plans exposed in America. And I know this is a rather old and tedious subject. However, new people arrive at this information all the time, and they are very much worth talking about again and again. Now, REX84 is Readiness Exercise 1984. Okay, this legislation or blueprint, whatever you want to call it, it is what led to the construction of all the various FEMA camps across the United States. Now, I'm in a unique position. I know for 100% that these things are real, as my dad is a quality inspector for these places, or was while they were being built, and still are being built, and he's still doing it. So, and I could have taken the time to write out my own thing here, but I don't have time for that. So I found what nutshelled it the best, and we have another article that kind of accompanies this one over here on Zero Hedge. Jackboots in the morning. No one is spared from this American nightmare. So this video is going to be fairly long. My coffee, where did it go? Alright. REX84. This incisive article on the repeal of civil liberties, first published by Global Research, brings to the forefront of debate the ongoing roadmap towards police state in America. We are dangerously close to a situation where, if the American people took to the streets in righteous indignation, or if there were another 9/11, a mechanism for martial law could quickly be implemented and carried out under REX84. The Bush-Cheney administration, or Cheney-Bush, has a plan which would accommodate the detention of large numbers of American citizens during times of emergency. The plan is called REX84, and it's short for Readiness Exercise 1984. Through REX84, an undisclosed number of concentration camps were set in operation throughout the United States for the internment of dissidents and other potentially harmful, or others potentially harmful to the state. You know, people like me, people who may watch videos like this, people who disregard the whims of Washington and state governments. The REX84 program was originally established on the reasoning that if a mass exodus of illegal aliens crossed the Mexican-U.S. border, they would be quickly rounded up and detained in detention centers by FEMA. Existence of the REX84 plan was first revealed during the Iran-Contra hearings in 1987 and subsequently reported on by the Miami Herald on July 5th, 1987. End quotes. These camps are to be operated by FEMA should martial law need to be implemented in the U.S., and all it would take is a presidential signature on a proclamation and the Attorney General's signature on a warrant to which a list of names is attached. And there you have it. The real purpose of FEMA is to not only protect the government, but to be its principal vehicle for martial law. And by the way, I should be giving credit where credit is due. This is written by Medea Greer, and it is a recent article, January 30th, 2019. And we're at amgnews.com. I've got to make sure I give where credit is due here. Okay, so this is why FEMA could not respond immediately to the Hurricane Katrina disaster. Humanitarian efforts were no longer part of its job under the Department of Homeland Security. So, the reason why FEMA is so slow to do anything with regard to natural disasters is because that responsibility was either delegated to someone else or just completely wiped out. U.S. FEMA concentration camps. It appears Hurricane Katrina also provided FEMA with an excuse to dry run its unconstitutional powers in New Orleans, rounding up refugees, now called evacuees, and relocating them in various camps. Relocating them to various camps. Some evacuees are being treated as internees by FEMA, writes former NSA employee Wayne Madsen. Reports continue to come into WMR that evacuees from the New Orleans and Arcadia area, the traditional 22 parish Cajun homeland, who have been scattered across the United States, are being treated as internees and not dislocated American citizens from a catastrophe. So they're treating anyone in these disasters as internees and not dislocated American citizens. Think FEMA barges. Think disappearing people never to be seen again. We are dangerously close to a situation where if the American people took to the streets in righteous indignation, or if there were another 9/11, and they just repeated what they said above here. Be forewarned, the Cheney-Bush administration will stop at nothing to preserve their power and their ongoing neocon misadventure, and they have currently proposed having executive control over all these states' National Guard troops in a national emergency. And keep in mind this, some of this information is coming from the Bush-Cheney era, but it still stands today. Nothing has changed these powers. Governor Tom Vilsack of Iowa called the proposal one step away from a complete takeover of the National Guard, the end of the Guard as a dual-function force that can respond to both state and national needs. The provision was tucked into the House version of the defense bill without notice to the states, something Vilsack said he resented as much as the proposal itself. Under the provision, the President would have authority to take control of the Guard in case of a serious national or man-made disaster, accident, or catastrophe in the United States. Do you remember to the Cheney-Bush administration, the mob at the gates, that they truly fear is not terrorists, but instead the people demanding the truth? There are over 800 prison camps in the United States, all fully operational, and have received prisoners. Okay? Again, these are little excerpts from showing the progression, I guess, of how things have fallen. So they do have prisoners in these places. I would say that probably it's all the refugees from natural disasters. This is already going on. Okay? It's already going on. They're all staffed and even surrounded by full-time guards. And at that time, they were empty. These camps are to be operated by FEMA should martial law need to be implemented in the United States, and all it would take is a presidential signature, and they already said this as well. Bottom line is, FEMA has the actual control of the government. Not the president, not Congress, not the Senate, not the Attorney Generals, Justice Department, none of them. FEMA. Even though FEMA is under the Justice Department, they're still really, they're the true government. The largest of these facilities is just outside of Fairbanks, Alaska. The Alaskan facility is a massive mental health facility and can hold thousands of people. It's even said up to 1 million. So, and then over here, jackboots in the morning. No one is spared from this American nightmare. This is from John Whitehead of the Rutherford Institute. This is an American nightmare that they would arrest somebody like this, Judge Andrew Napolitano. Now, by now, most of you have heard that Roger Stone was arrested. Isn't it funny how Roger Stone got arrested and not Hillary Clinton? Or Bill? Or Huma? You name it. Isn't it strange that it was a conservative that got arrested? Still no trials, people. You know, every day I open my YouTube and I see numerous videos talking about military tribunals, QAnon. These things are fantasy. And I would argue that Roger Stone's arrest proves this. They're not holding military tribunals. Remember, I showed you the docket several videos back. There's none of those people on a tribunal docket. So, the American police state does not discriminate. Whatever dangerous practices you allow the government to carry out now, whether it's in the name of national security or protecting America's borders or making America great again, rest assured, these same practices can and will be used against you when the government decides to set its sights on you. We've been having this same debate about the perils of government overreach for the last 50+ years, and we still don't seem to learn, or if we learn, we do so too late. For too long now, the American people have allowed their personal prejudices and politics to cloud their judgment and render them incapable of seeing that the treatment being doled out by the government's lethal enforcers has remained consistent, no matter the threat. All of the excessive, abusive tactics employed by the government today, warrantless surveillance, stop-and-frisk searches, SWAT team raids, roadside strip searches, asset forfeiture schemes, private prisons, indefinite detention, militarized police, and so on, will eventually be meted out on the general populace. At that point, when you find yourself in the government's crosshairs, it will not matter whether your skin is black or yellow or brown or white. It will not matter whether you're an immigrant or a citizen. It will not matter whether you're rich or poor. It will not matter whether you're a Republican or Democrat. And it certainly won't matter who you voted for in the last presidential election. At that point, you find yourself subjected to dehumanizing, demoralizing, thuggish behavior by government bureaucrats who are hyped up on the power of their badges, not to mention steroids, and in power to detain, search, interrogate, threaten, and generally harass anyone they see fit. Remember, you've been warned. Take Roger Stone, for example. One of the president's longtime supporters. This is a guy accused of witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and lying to Congress. And remember, folks, when politicians lie to you, it's politics. When you lie to politicians or the government, it's criminal. As far as we know, this guy is not the kingpin of a violent mob or drug laundering scheme. He's been charged with a political crime. So what does the FBI do? They send 29 heavily armed agents in 17 vehicles to carry out a SWAT-style raid on Stone's Florida home just before dawn on January 25th, 2019. It was overkill. And this is yet another example of government overreach and brutality. But here's the thing. While Tucker Carlson and Chris Christie and other Trump apologists appear shocked that law enforcement personnel would stage a military assault against an unarmed 66-year-old man who has been charged with a nonviolent crime, this is nothing new. Indeed, this is blowback. One more vivid example of how the government's short-sighted use of immoral, illegal, and unconstitutional tactics become dangerous weapons turned against the American people. To be clear, this Stone raid is far from the first time a SWAT team has been employed in nonviolent scenarios. Nationwide, SWAT teams routinely invade homes, break down doors, kill family pets, damage furnishings, terrorize families, and wound or kill those unlucky enough to be present during a raid. Peyton, a 7-year-old black lab, and a 4-year-old Chase, also a black lab, were shot and killed after a SWAT team mistakenly raided the mayor's home while searching for drugs. Police shot Peyton 4 times. Chase was shot twice, once from behind as he ran away. My government blew through my doors and killed my dogs. They thought we were drug dealers, and we were treated as such. I don't think they really ever considered that we weren't, recalls Mayor Che Calvo, who described being handcuffed and interrogated for hours, wearing only underwear and socks, surrounded by the dogs' carcasses and pools of the dogs' blood. SWAT teams have been employed to address an astonishingly trivial array of so-called criminal activity or mere community nuisances: angry dogs, domestic disputes, improper paperwork filed by an orchid farmer, and misdemeanor marijuana possession, to give a brief sampling. In some instances, SWAT teams are even employed in full armament to perform routine patrols. SWAT teams originated as specialized units dedicated to diffusing extremely sensitive, dangerous situations. They were never meant to be used for routine police work, such as serving a warrant. Frequently justified as vital tools necessary to combat terrorism and deal with rare but extremely dangerous criminal situations, such as those involving hostages, SWAT teams, which first appeared on the scene in California in the 1960s, have now become an intrinsic part of federal and local law enforcement operations, thanks to, in large part, to substantial federal assistance and the Pentagon's 1033 military surplus recycling program, which allows the transfer of military equipment, weapons, and training to local police for free or at sharp discounts. And this is the program that Trump breathed new life into back in 2017. And that's why I have absolutely no respect for Donald Trump. I'm not a leftist by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm not a right-winger either. In 1980, there were roughly 3,000 SWAT team-style raids in the U.S. Incredibly, that number has since grown to more than 80,000 SWAT team raids per year. Where this becomes a problem of life and death for Americans is when these militarized SWAT teams are assigned to carry out routine law enforcement tasks. No longer reserved exclusively for deadly situations, SWAT teams are now increasingly being deployed for relatively routine police matters, such as serving search warrants. And of course, by using these guys, they go in, they escalate the situation, and then they use any excuse they can come up with to kill the people. In the state of Maryland alone, 92% of 8,200 SWAT missions were used to execute search warrant or arrest warrants. Police in both Baltimore and Dallas have used SWAT teams to bust up poker games. A Connecticut SWAT team swarmed a bar suspected of serving alcohol to underage individuals. In Arizona, a SWAT team was used to break up an illegal cockfighting ring. An Atlanta SWAT team raided a music studio, allegedly out of concern that it might have been involved in illegal music piracy. So, not only do they have REX84 in place to lock your ass up, they have these guys out here to kill you, to cage you, to kidnap you, to rob you. But they're the heroes, right? How can you be a hero surrounding what was it, a 66-year-old man with how many agents? 20. How many was it? 50-something? No, 29. 29 agents. Surround an old man, 66 years old, who's unarmed, pointing their guns at him. But, you know, they're heroes, right? Just like the soldiers that kill women and children, they're heroes too, right? Just like the officers who kill women and children, they're heroes too, right? When do these guys stop becoming heroes and start becoming what they are, what they actually are? Authoritarian monsters on power trips who want to lock you up and kill you. That's what these people are. And you revere them. They are your enemy. Period. If you are for freedom, real freedom, they are your enemy. Hope everyone has a great day. I will put links in the description box so you can check out these articles in length. Till next time, kill the state before the state kills you.